Oh, hey! I'm glad you're here. If you're listening to this at the time of the recording, I guess this is our holiday episode, although after the initial check-in, it doesn't really come up again. However, our daughter is on winter break. Do you remember winter break? A week, sometimes two, of later bedtimes, midweek sleepovers, parents that still had to work, which meant unsupervised movie watching. All you needed to do was bring your parents the movie tags and hope they didn't ask the video store employee if Cafe Flesh is appropriate for a 13-year-old, or if Necromantic had anything a parent might be opposed to a kid seeing. Sometimes, those parental gatekeepers and cock-blocking employees would drive you to find a friend who had a free week of HBO. I mean, come on, employee, all you had to do was be cool. But say you went over to Devin's house, just picking a name, and he had all the movie channels. But first, the 7-Eleven, as we need provisions. Then, there you are, with Dweebs, Bonkers, and Jolt Cola, and your friends, ready to watch Heavy Metal the movie. Hell yeah, winter break rules, and you get presents. Speaking of gifts, this episode is a real treat. Sarah's back, and Ryan Gowland returns, so let's just get right to it. The movie is The Singing Ringing Tree. The guest is Ryan Gowland, and this is VHS Presents New Releases and Late Returns. Hello, and welcome to VHS Presents New Releases and Late Returns, our casual chat format where we first shout out what's currently bringing us joy from the realms of entertainment before we take a look back at a forgotten gem. I'm your host, Dirk Marshall, and I'm joined by my co-host, Sarah Marshall.
Hey!
How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm ready for a casual chat.
Oh, good. Perfect. So natural banter up top.
Mm-hmm.
And we're joined by returning champion, Ryan Gowland. Thank you for being here.
Oh, thank you so much for having me back. I'm so glad I won that last round.
Yes.
And I was able to return.
I brought you on early so you could partake in the witty banter up top.
Oh, thank you. This is great. I love it. I love casual talk.
So here it is, witty banter. Sarah, what's new with you?
Well, it's probably the busiest week of my life.
Yep.
Which is how, right before holidays are. So here I am doing this. So busy.
Are you thinking about all the other things that you have to do after this?
I don't know. I'm pretty sure I just fell over on the couch earlier today when I just went to ask our daughter how she was doing after school, and I just fell asleep for a second and then sprung to life.
Yeah.
So that's how I am.
That's true. Ryan, how's the New World Pictures podcast going?
I don't know. I haven't been paying attention. No, it's going great. And I believe we have a website. I believe it's up and going. Just as we had it up and going, my co-host and brother Mark decided to mess with the way our numbering works for our episodes. And then that threw everything off on the website. So anyway, there is a website. So we have that. We're going to reveal some new t-shirts. We've got some great new episodes going on. We just had an interview with Patrick Reed Johnson for Deathcember. And we also talked about Angel of Death. And we'll be talking about Death Before Dishonor before we wrap up Deathcember with Ernest Saves Christmas, which is a nearly New World film.
Awesome.
It was almost New World, if you can believe it.
I loved your recent interview that came out this week, and I hope he comes back. He sounded like he wanted to come back.
It sounds that way to me too, and I emailed him, sent him the link. I haven't heard back, but with a lot of our guests, I'm going to give them time.
Sure.
And then let them forget what it was like to be on the show, maybe, and then see if they'll come back, and then have them go, oh, I think I remember that was a good time. We had a great time with him, so I hope that he'll be able to come back. So
yeah, definitely.
He was a great guest, great stories. He was really tremendous to talk to. So we hope he comes back.
Yeah.
And tells us this incredible story with him and Treat Williams riding around in a helicopter. So that's what we're, fingers crossed, that's what we're going to get.
And what is the website that you have now?
I was afraid you would ask. I believe it's newworldpicturespodcast.com, but I don't know for sure. I mean, there's one way to find out, and that is to Google it. But from what my brother has told me, it is live. I've seen it in beta formats, so I've had that. But that's, I believe, what it will be. I don't know if it's live at the moment because we had some issues with the renumbering that all of a sudden my brother wanted to try now that we have a website.
Sarah, Next question for you.
Yes, I'm ready.
Current food or beverage obsession?
Well, I've been eating a lot of cookies
Hmm.
because I'm doing this cookie battle,
Mm-hmm.
which is, interesting because I'm not even really a sweets gal. I'm more of a spicy gal.
Or competitive?
Or competitive. So I'm in a cookie battle and it feels weird, but it's fun. So I've been taste testing a lot of cookies. So that's what I've been eating. I also have been eating a lot of steak salads, which is probably my favorite food. But
Okay.
when I get really busy, I sometimes forget to eat. And then I'm like, I need vegetables and meat now.
Yeah.
So steak salad has been top on my list. Favorite beverages currently,
Yo.
I got this really awesome margarita mix from a vendor at one of the craft shows I did that she was a bartender and lost her job during the pandemic and made a prickly pear margarita mix.
It was really good.
Yeah, so we've been having a nightly margarita in the hot tub, which is awesome.
Yeah.
That feels good to say and good to do. Yeah, so that's my food and drink obsessions right now.
Nice. Last question, Ryan.
Mm.
Do you have a story from your childhood involving Mark? Bonus points if there's shenanigans involved.
Any story at
Mm-hmm.
all?
Yeah.
Any story involving my brother from when we were kids. Trying to think. By the way, oh my God, a fly just flew right into my face.
Wow.
That's not the story, but just something that legitimately happened right this second. By the way, it's newworldpicturespodcast.com. That is indeed the
There it
website.
is. Cool.
A story from when we were kids.
Like, were you troublemakers? Ruffians?
Not really. We were pretty good. I'm trying to think. I'm thinking of lots of things that are really boring, and I don't want to bother to
Okay.
bring
What
up.
about
They're
revolving
really
around
dumb.
the holidays?
Around the holidays, the story that my parents will always tell involves me
Yeah.
because I went down to go look at Christmas gifts and I inadvertently set off the alarm at our house. And I kept trying to put in the code and turn it off, and I couldn't. And if you don't do it within a certain period of time, it will go
Lots.
bananas. And that is exactly what happened. And then I hid like nearby. I hid in the worst spot. And that story has been told like every Christmas ever
Nice.
since.
That's what I wanted.
And I would love to say that I was like 8, but I was older than that. I'm pretty sure I was like 10 or 11. I mean, and they're always like, why didn't you turn it off? And I was like, I tried. Dear God, did I try to turn that thing off? And it's one of those things where you're just like, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, oh
Right.
shit, you know? And you just aren't going to pull it off.
But the police didn't come.
No.
Nice.
The police did not show up, so that was a good thing. Oh, my brother and I used to shoot little movies,
There we go.
mainly at one of my brother's friends, and I would get to tag along as his younger brother. In fact, I got to tag along with his friends and sometimes spend the night at his friend's house as well. My parents are just like, let's get Ryan out of the house too. And he has no good friends of his own. No, I would just be allowed to do that. And so I would then be in his friends' movies. And I think in one of his movies, I played like 5 different characters. And by that, I mean I wore 5 different shirts and was called 5 different names and was summarily killed for probably 5 times. Let's be honest. I was never the hero. So we did that kind of stuff all the time.
Perfect.
That was the shenanigans we were up to.
I love it. Well, that marks the end of Witty Banter, and let's get right into new releases. We're going to start with print. Ryan, anything you're currently reading?
I just started this the other day. My brother got this for my birthday. Got this for me for my birthday. And this is the Escape from New York
Whoa.
book about the story of the film.
I didn't realize there was such a story behind Escape from New York.
The official story of the film, this came out, John Walsh wrote it from Studio Canal. And I was eyeing it to give to him, funny enough. But he and I watched that movie so many times. We alternated one summer. Every day we would either watch Escape from New York or Revenge of the Nerds. So
Nice.
covering all the bases.
Yeah. That...
And one of those 2 movies I will still watch today.
Mm-hmm. One of them's kind of problematic.
With the other ones, not as, innocent times, I suppose, back then. I just started it, but yeah, I love Escape from New York, so I'm just kind of reading about it. It's mostly pictures, so it feels like this will be a book I'll actually get through. So that's good.
Awesome. Sarah, anything you're currently reading?
Yeah, I'm reading Our Crooked Hearts by Melissa Albert, and I'm sure your listeners will be surprised to know it's a book about witches.
Nice.
So
Yeah.
it's really
What?
good. I'm super into it. When our daughter asks me what I'm reading, always she'll be like, "Mom, what are you reading? Is it a book about witches?" And yeah,
Usually is.
usually is. And it's great. I love it. I would recommend it. She's written a couple other books if anybody wants to
What was that author
hit
again?
those up. Melissa Albert.
Melissa Albert.
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic. I'm reading, shocker for all people listening, Derek Jarman book. This is the sketchbooks. This is a compendium of things from his sketchbooks. It's one of my favorite things. It's his handwriting, it's collage work. It shows the way he composes shots for the films. It shows some of the set design stuff that he did for Ken Russell's The Devils, which people always say that they love so much. And a big part of that is Derek Jarman's set design for that film. I love this book. It's fun to pour over. It's fun to just pick a random spot and look at it. I've read all his memoirs, so it's nice to have this kind of companion piece. So that's Derek Jarman's sketchbooks.
All right. Well, you guys just blew me out of the water with actual literature. I'm reading a glorified magazine article. Well done to your literary lives.
Oh, thank you, thank you, thank you. Next is music. Anything you're currently listening to. Ryan, I'm sure there's something you're listening to.
Yeah, I grabbed a couple things I'm listening to. Speaking of John Carpenter, I'm keeping it on John Carpenter for the Firestarter soundtrack to the remake. A remake I haven't seen, to be honest. But I pre-ordered this forever ago, and it finally showed up, and I've been listening to it like crazy. I really dig it. I know you appreciate good background music, Dirk, and so to me, it's just been very nice to put on in between Christmas music, but it's nice for me to put on and just do stuff and get things done that I need to get done, and I've really enjoyed it. It's hitting that sweet spot of kind of getting you in that sort of mental zone.
Does the soundtrack give you the feeling that she's the fire starter?
It doesn't, oddly enough.
No.
This doesn't feel, maybe one track. There's probably one track that does. I think it's super ironic that he's did the score for the remake of Firestarter. He's supposed to make the original. I think that's very funny, but I haven't watched the remake. This is a new record, or a newish record from Softkill.
Oh, yeah. PDX
live at Crystal Ballroom.
They're from Portland, and that's in Portland.
Yeah, that's right. So I think this was the first show. I bought a ticket to watch this show, basically just to watch on like a Zoom call, essentially. And it was during the pandemic. So it was like the one concert that I kind of went to. I've seen Softkill a few times here in LA. Really dig them. So I got this when they said they had the double album. I was like, I have to. This is the one concert I went to for a couple years.
I love that.
And then lastly, this is a group called that actually Erica found called Glass Spells.
Yeah.
Which is actually from my hometown of San Diego. And we are just loving the hell out of this record. So it's called Shattered. It's, I think, their latest, and maybe I think they only have one out at the moment.
Yeah, I have that too.
Oh, yeah.
It's great.
Really, really good stuff. Loving that.
Perfect. Sarah?
Well, since it's Christmas time, I sort of rotate between a few things, which is, I always listen to Kate Bush. I mean, all the time, but really at Christmas time when we decorate, it kind of kicks it off. Then I found this Avon Christmas record from 1986. And it was probably something that like Avon gave away free if you ordered enough of their crap,
Oh, yeah. Nice.
But it was brand new. It hadn't even been opened. I found it at a record store for $5. And it has the best Christmas songs. It has Dolly Parton on it.
It's loaded with classics.
It's so good. So we've been playing that a lot here.
I hate to say it, but I think I honestly have the exact same record.
It's great,
and I
right?
think I also got it new.
Yeah.
It was unopened somehow.
Yeah.
And I know the one because it has Dolly Parton on it. I'm like, I was wondering. It is a tremendous one. I found that and another one like it. And those are the two Christmas records I've been rotating because it's such a nice variety.
Yeah, it's so perfect.
Yeah, it's all the hits.
Then whenever I'm super busy, I listen to a lot of drum and bass because it's just like in the kitchen. It keeps me going because I'm working a lot. So that's what's been on my rotation.
Awesome. Yeah, similar. This time of year, since you mentioned Firestarter, it was funny because I listened to a lot of The Prodigy at this time of year because it's like high energy, keeps me making hundreds of gift packs. But this year I needed to bump it up a bit more, so I've been listening to Hellfish, which is a guy, Julian Cobb, who makes hardcore. And I don't mean hardcore as in like metal punk. I mean gabber, 180 to 200 beats per minute. It's just brutal pummeling beats. But what he does is he kind of takes a turntablism style to it, and he like scratches and cuts a bunch of stuff and drops a bunch of break beats, and then underneath that is just the pounding bass. He also illegally remixes pop songs, and so that he twists them into just weird perversions of what they used to be. So I thoroughly enjoy it. I can get completely lost in it. Some of his long mixes are really good. If you're looking for an example of what I'm talking about, the song Turntable Savage. If you look up Turntable Savage, it'll give you a nice little 6-minute preview of what he does. And then next, Azul y Negro, which is a 1980s Spanish synth pop band. Still going to this day. I'm pretty shocked about it. But I discovered them from Godfrey Ho's Thunder of Gigantic Serpent, which I just wrote about on our Patreon. So I was like, what is this music? So I Shazammed it and discovered,
Shazam.
yeah, I just was like, I gotta get into these dudes and their cool Spanish synth pop jams. And then lastly, Golden Palominos. I really like Golden Palominos. You know, they come from Anton Fier and Bill Laswell. Those are the kind of guys behind it. They did these, I don't know how to explain it. It's like alternative music and then slowly went into kind of poppy, but with like dub elements. And Lori Carson was the vocalist for an album called Pure, which is really good, kind of a mixture of spoken word and singing. And then Nicole Blackman on the album Dead Inside, which is more like drum and bassy, but tons of spoken word, super bleak. The song Ambitions Are is really excellent on that album. Which brings us to television.
So you go back and forth from like Prodigy, like really pick me up, to just like bleak darkness.
Yes, yeah. That's pretty much me.
Happy holidays, Dirk.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just super angry, like, awfulness, and then just the saddest, dreariest, everything's gonna die.
And then Sarah's just enjoying some drum and bass in the kitchen.
Yes. That's what happens. She walks in and I'm just like pouring sweat and I'm just grimacing. Yeah.
Crying just a little, but angrily.
Depending on the moment. Yeah. Just stomping and weeping.
Not true. You are like 100% a happy guy. I would not even know what you were listening to because you always have your ear pods in. But I come in and every time you're like, smiling.
Okay, ruin the illusion.
Yeah. Yeah, this is your reps going right out the window.
Oh, man. So many people listen because they know how angry and tough I am.
Nah, man, you're a sweetheart.
Oh. All right. Ryan, anything you're watching on the TV? Episodic entertainment?
Episodic. Not anything at the moment because we just finished Andor finally. In fact, we watched that with the kids and really enjoyed Andor a whole lot.
Did they come to a conclusion of if it was and or? Did they?
And or, yeah, it should be. And because you could say that about all the Star Wars shows. I like this one. Andor. I really liked Andor a whole lot. I think they really did a good job world building and stuff. I think Tony Gilroy did a lot of that. Rogue One as well. So like he's very adept at that. And I think for some of the people that were complaining about Star Wars shows, which I feel like, what are you complaining about? It's mostly entertainment geared towards children and toys and selling toys. But this one actually is very well done. Some really, really good storytelling and very much a show you have to watch all. I think there's 12 episodes. I think you have to dive in. You can't just pick one up and be like, that was good or whatever. You have to make a commitment. And we really dug it. Even the kids liked it. In fact, our son tried to put it on tonight. I was like, we've watched it, buddy. It's all done. We watched all of them. And he was like, isn't there another season? I said, eventually, but not tonight.
Yeah.
So they were ready to keep going. So that's really kind of what we watched. Other than that, my kids are really into Man versus Food.
Great. Yeah.
Erica, my wife and my co-host, is not into that show at all. So we watched 2 episodes last night, very much against her wishes. She was like looking at her phone like, I will not watch this episode. I do not care if Casey eats all 24 of these incredibly hot wings. I do not care.
Is the host called Casey now?
It's now Casey. It was Adam way back when, but he left that show to greener pastures and probably a more healthy lifestyle.
For sure.
And,
he lost a ton of weight.
Oh, he did. And that show had to be just murder. I always tell Erica I want to see the show after the show. Like I'm interested in seeing the host like 4 hours after he's completed the task and how miserable he must be.
It would just be and or diarrhea and vomiting, I think.
That's right. That's what I want to like. I want to watch the Star Wars show Andor, and then I want to watch a guy vomit and sit in a toilet and aggressively poop for an hour.
Same. Yeah.
You guys are into weird
That's all
stuff.
those are my needs. Make it happen, Hollywood.
What about you, Sarah?
What am I watching? Well,
Episodic.
no idea.
We're not watching anything.
Oh, okay. We're not watching anything.
Oh,
Dirk.
good answer. Perfect. And that saves me the trouble because we haven't been watching episodes of anything. Up next, games. Ryan, any kind of game you've been playing with the family other than which room to keep warm?
The game is which room is warm enough for us all to converge in while we wait for our heater to be fixed. I've been playing mostly FIFA, which is a soccer game, with my son. That's what I play.
Rad.
Because he is obsessed with soccer and he loves to play soccer. I went to an actual video store called Game On here in the Valley, San Fernando Valley, and we went around and looked at stuff, and we actually bought an older version. I think it's FIFA 21 because it was like $10 or something. I was like, let's get that. There's a new one coming out. There was a new one at the time.
There always will be, I think.
Yeah, always. Every year there's a new one. And so they were like, there's a brand new one that'll come out. So I was like, well, let's just get one from a couple years ago that doesn't cost us much. And we've been playing it almost daily. The only way he will wake up early is I'm like, let's play a quick game. And he'll be like, oh, okay. If not, then it takes us like an hour to get him out of bed. So that's really what I've been playing. And it's fun. It's a blast to kind of play with your son and goof around. It's a good time.
Yeah, I agree.
Otherwise, they want me to stay the hell away while they play Minecraft. So
yeah, I hear that. Sometimes my daughter is like, let's play Minecraft. And I'm like, okay. And then she's like, build that wall over there. And I'm like, hold on a second. Did you just bamboozle me into like working for you in Minecraft? Like that's not. So we don't play too often. But Sarah, any games?
Not as far as video games go,
Sure.
but I have been trying to hit up Miss Pac-Man whenever I go by the arcade because our daughter loves to go. She likes the claw machines. I like Miss Pac-Man. So that's the only video game that I've been playing. And board games, she has requested Candyland the most often recently. And I think it's only because she's like, let's play Candyland and eat candy.
Yeah.
And I'm like, sure, yeah, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where
We're
we're
easy
at.
marks.
Yeah. It's like I get a board game and a treat. So
Nice. I've been playing just the same, Rainbow Six Siege, and now a little bit of Destiny 2. A friend of mine moved back to Portland, Sean Baby, and JL and I have convinced him to jump on and play games with us, and it's been super fun. We can do stuff we couldn't do before because there was only two of us. He's very adept at games and usually finishes them in a day, so it's interesting because he can like walk us through stuff, but it's been fun. We're just chatting about our kids and playing video games like a bunch of video game playing dads.
I love that. That's terrific.
It's
yeah,
pretty
I think it's cute. I think
Right?
yes, because you guys all like, you could all hang out, because you're friends.
Yeah, we thought about that.
But rarely do
We
you.
live so close to each other.
You all live very close. We're in the same neighborhood, but you meet up online every
Yeah.
night.
Yeah.
And I think it's sweet. And you always like check in about what's going on with your families while you're, I think, murdering people.
Lots of
yeah,
murder.
lots
Yeah,
of
yeah,
murder. So, sweet guys.
It's a
It takes your mind off the murdering,
Yeah.
yeah.
so that murdering just becomes this sort of just, banal activity that you do without much thought, which I think is healthy.
Yeah, no, it's very good. My friend Jail's son will get on sometimes, and he's like, he just turned 10, and he's really fun to play with because he just goes for it. There's no stealthy whatsoever. He just lets go, attack him, and that's what it's all about. And he's awesome. He's a rad little guy. Which brings us to movies. Ryan, anything
Yeah.
you've been watching in a movie?
Well, obviously, I was watching RoboCop 3.
Yes, yeah.
It was a rewatch. I'd seen this before, but I grabbed the other RoboCop movies. So I watched 2 and then I watched 3, which, I don't have much memory of 3 at all. I just know it was the one without Peter Weller.
He flies, right?
Yes, good call. I couldn't even remember that much. I barely remembered it. I knew that it had Robert John Burke as RoboCop because I was a big fan of Robert John Burke because of Hal Hartley. So he's in a lot of Hal Hartley films. And Black Panther Wakanda Forever. He's briefly in that. But anyway, this was not as bad as I thought, is all I can say. Is my quickie review of RoboCop 3. Fred Dekker, I love Fred Dekker.
Yeah.
He's great. This is not one of his better films. I would say there's better films, but this was, pretty fun and not as bad as I remember. It's still, every sequel of RoboCop pales to the first one. It's
Sure.
just like the first one's an absolute masterpiece. And the other two were like, if you enjoy RoboCop enough, and the fact is, I do.
Yeah, me too.
So I enjoyed it. Should I go on?
Yes.
I just watched Born to Fight.
How is that?
It's okay.
Okay.
It's not bad.
Okay.
I would say it's pretty decent, but it's not as silly as other things, though I will say that the main guy in it, Brent Huff, who did a lot of work with Bruno Mattei, they're definitely trying to make him, even though it's definitely a non-exploitation film, almost kind of like an Uncommon Valor riff or we got to save these prisoners of war kind of thing, but it's with one guy and
Right.
this lady that hires him who is like a general's daughter. And then Brent Huff, they're trying to make him out to be some sort of proto Crocodile Dundee, but that
Weird.
part of that movie lasts for his opening scene and then it doesn't really matter other than he's wearing kind of a Crocodile Dundee-esque outfit. So, but I wanted it to be a little sillier and dumb. It is kind of dumb, and then there's a lot of explosions, and the disc actually, Severin makes them look so good
Mm-hmm.
that it takes some getting used to because you're like, God, this looks really, really tremendous, and it's Bruno Mattei. It should look crazier. I like Double Target a bit more. These are the 3
Oh,
Bruno
right.
Mattei movies, and I have one more cop game that I've yet to watch. So far, I like this one probably the most, Double Target. It also has Donald Pleasance in it, so that's always enjoyable. Bo Svensson is in it, and he's trying to save his son, essentially, and his son is estranged and hates him for most of the movie, so that is kind of fun.
Nice.
Kind of dig that. But it's not as much fun, I'd have to say, as like Strike Commando or Strike Commando 2 from Bruno Mattei, which I really, really like. And also,
Same.
of course, Robo War, which I adore. So they're not quite as much fun as that, but still enjoyable enough. I'll watch Bruno Mattei do almost anything. And then I also in November, I rewatched all the Dirty Harry movies. So I had
How
I
many
watched
are there?
There's 5.
5. Okay.
Yeah. I've watched them all before, but I hadn't seen all of them, certainly, in a long time. I think I'd seen the first 2 more recently, but I hadn't seen Enforcer and
Deadpool is the last one, right?
the Deadpool, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's the 5th one with Jim Carrey.
Right.
In a scene where he lip syncs to Guns N' Roses in a scene that he's trying to pretend to shoot a video, but there's nothing about that scene that isn't laugh out loud funny. It's just so ridiculous and dumb. It's like it just looks like a sketch. It does not look like an actual serious film. But other than that, Jim Carrey's pretty good in it. Other than that scene, but it's not a very good movie. That'd be my least favorite. I don't know how familiar you are with Dirty Harry movies, but
I saw them all back in the 80s.
Yeah, I think my dad took Mark and I to see the Deadpool, so we saw that one in the theater, and then my brother reminded me that we saw part of Sudden Impact also in the theater but it was with a double feature with another movie, and our mom had basically said, no, we're good. We're not going to watch any more of this movie after a while, because essentially that movie is about him and this woman who's a prostitute, and somebody is like raping and killing prostitutes. So yeah, my mom was like, no, we're not going to watch this one.
Probably good.
I'm trying to remember what the first movie was, and the first movie was also not appropriate for children, so I like that my mom probably had enough after the first film and was like, we're not going to do a whole other one of this.
Right.
But yeah, that's some of the stuff I've been watching.
Sarah?
Well, I've been mostly watching Hallmark Christmas movies.
Correct.
Because that's what we do during this time. Because we just need something to like take our mind off the excessive amount of work that we're doing.
Sure.
So I think, we started actually with some kind of Netflix Christmas movies. So we watched the Lindsay Lohan Christmas special.
Mm-hmm.
And then I went on a little trip with my lady friends and we watched Where the Crawdads Sing. And I think that's the only non-Christmas movie I've watched in the whole month. Yeah. But yeah, so it's been kind of fun to be doing, I had mentioned earlier that I'm in this holiday cookie bake-off on Kitsch. It's fun to watch things like we watched the Bachelor Bake Off Hallmark movie as I was getting ready for my cookie battle. So it's been really fun to like be part of this weird holiday bake off while we're watching people on TV doing holiday bake offs.
Yeah, this is your first year of that.
This is my first experience in any kind of competition because that is not my vibe. I'm not a sports playing person. No. I'm not a gambling man. I don't do any of those things. So here I am in this cookie battle. Wow. And I'm winning.
Hey, all right.
I won my first challenge. I just did my second one today. And then if people can go vote for me.
It will have already happened.
Maybe I'll make it to the third one.
Oh, yeah, that's true. That's true.
It goes until the end
go
of the
back
month.
and vote.
Yeah.
Go back.
I don't even know what I win really, but it's just been fun to do it. This is a new thing for them as a channel because the most popular shows on Food Network are battles and game shows, and so that's why they're
Try
practicing
it
this.
out.
So they asked me to be part of it of the first experimental round. I kicked off the first session and then the second session. So it feels pretty awesome to just be part of something new and exciting.
And
So.
people
That's
can watch
awesome.
that on the platform.
Yeah, people can watch me battle live.
Kitsch.com.
It's cool and fun, and you can see all the things that I do wrong.
And how many? You're up to almost 100 demos
Yeah, I've
that you've done on there?
this is yeah, I'm almost at 100 streams. Yeah,
Wow.
on the platform. So.
Congratulations.
Thank
Awesome.
you. Thank you. It's fun.
And your movie was the Mariah Carey Christmas special?
Oh, my favorite movie right now. Yeah. So my favorite Christmas movie, which I mean, it's a little wild that this is my favorite. I've never really been a Mariah Carey fan. It's not who I am, but I love the Mariah Carey Christmas movie about the dog. It's called All I Want for Christmas. It's a
Mhm.
cartoon.
Mm-hmm.
My daughter and I watch it every year to kick off the holiday season. I love it. It makes me want to get a pet. I don't even like pets. Thank you, Mariah Carey.
Yeah, I've slept through it every year until this year. And then I watched it and everyone's like, you've seen this before. And I was like, I have not seen this before. Because
so
we're usually
good.
working so much that it's like, I sit
Mhm.
down and I go, well, this is my chance. And then I just close my eyes and drift away. But I watched it this year. It was fun.
Well, I full on recommend it to
Perfect.
anyone.
I just have a couple. It's been a reoccurring theme that I'm getting that people see me as someone who watches weird movies. And I try not to take it personally because these are just the movies that I like, which means they're not weird to me.
Yeah, we're going to be talking about a very just normal movie
Absolutely normal.
in this.
Yep.
Super normal.
So I was like, you know what? I'm going to watch a normal movie with a star like Robert Downey Jr. and Eric Idle and Andrea Martin and Alan Arbus and Ralph Macchio and Jennifer Rubin. So I watched 1990's Too Much Sun. Have you seen this
Mm.
one, Ryan?
I don't think so.
I don't think anyone has. Okay, so the premise is a billionaire finds out his son is gay and his daughter's a lesbian and vows to leave his fortune to whoever can produce an heir. And the couple
Oh, okay.
is Alan Arbus and Eric Idle. And it's directed by Robert Downey Sr.
Oh, okay. I was about to say, yeah.
It's supposed to be a comedy, but it feels like a drama. And like Ralph Macchio is so bizarre in this. And Robert Downey Jr. is the sidekick to Ralph Macchio in a way. And the Eric Idle, there's a section where he's supposed to sleep with a lady, but he's wearing this like red lingerie. This thing is so weird that I was like, I don't know who this movie is for. And I think it was supposed to be like a mainstream kind of comedy in 1990. But yeah, Too Much Sun, really strange. I only have like, I don't think it made it to DVD for sure, definitely not Blu-ray. I have a VHS rip of it that is very, very mushy. It's very hard to tell what's going on in the images, but that's probably best with Eric Idle and lingerie. But yeah. And then I watched Saints and Sinners from 1994. It's a crime dramedy which stars Jennifer Rubin, Demina Chapa, and Scott Plank. It's like a small crime fiasco in a big city situation. It's a movie I watched back in the 90s because lots of people have cinematic crushes. I only really had one, and that was Jennifer Rubin. So
Yeah, I was about to say, you're on a Jennifer Rubin kick.
yeah. So I have like 5 of her films that didn't make it to DVD that I've tracked down, and so I made it through 2 of them this week. So I was very excited about that. It's not a great movie, Saints and Sinners, but it is interesting visually, if you know what I mean. Anyway, well, that brings us to the end of new releases, which means we're going to take a break and come back with just Ryan and I, as Sarah didn't have to watch this movie.
Thank you.
We'll be right back. Feeding. Everyone's got to do it, even vampires. But if you aren't a vampire, or a baby vampire, then sometimes eating can become so repetitive and boring. Which is where Marshall's Hot Sauce comes in. Liven up any meal with those small batch sauces made from only the freshest ingredients. From the sweet, mild heat of smoked habanero barbecue to the addictive serrano ginger lemongrass, or even my 2 personal favorites, habanero carrot curry and bird's eye basil. In fact, Marshall's Hot Sauce even has a new line of seasonings, including an incredible barbecue rub, a chicken marinade, and even a volcano sparkle that a vampire could eat. The best part is that you can enter VHS Podcast at checkout for 20% off. That's right, liven up those meals and wake up those undead taste buds at marshallshotsauce.com. That's Marshall's, Haute sauce.com. And enter VHS Podcast for 20% off. And now, back to the show. And we're back for our late return to the Ringing Singing Tree from 1957. the Ringing Singing Tree is a 1957 children's fantasy film from East Germany studio DEFA. It's directed by Francesco Stefani with a screenplay by Anne Gielhar, and it's based on a variation of Hurl-Burl Butts by the Brothers Grimm.
Yep, that old classic.
Yeah.
The one you know and love, that same one.
Yeah. So it's actually called the Singing Ringing Tree, but it is called the Ringing Singing Tree in some places, which is why probably more people haven't seen it. It was theatrically released in East Germany in 1957, where it sold 5,900,001 tickets in the country of about 17 million people. So
yeah,
a lot of people saw it.
Like
yeah.
a third of the country, at least East Germany,
went and saw this.
Went and saw this. That's how desperate they were for entertainment in East Germany.
It was also cut into episodes and showed on TV, which I guess scarred a new entire generation. It is shot in color on a stage. Ryan, opening thoughts on being asked to watch the Singing Ringing Singing Tree.
I will say that, to peek around the curtain, you had purchased this DVD.
Yeah.
And then tried to send me a rip of it, but I couldn't watch it.
It's hard to find.
Yeah. And so I did happen to find it on YouTube, but it was in German and it was subtitled.
Not as fun.
So I started watching that and I was like, well, this is certainly weird, but but then you said, no, you should have like a narrator. And I was like, okay, well, let me look again. And then I found it, and so when you mentioned that it released in 1964, that's because it was done for the BBC.
Oh.
And so they narrated it, and the narrator tells you what's happening, sometimes does the voices of the characters, not always.
No.
And their sort of vocals are sort of lowered as he sort of explains to you what's happening, which is a far more appealing way to watch this movie, for sure. So I would recommend for anyone who wants to watch this, and you really should. You should watch this. That's my opening thought. You should watch this. But look, it's 73 minutes. It's really, won't take you long. It really won't. It's not even quite 73. It's like an hour 10.
Mm-hmm.
And I will say it looks great because it is shot.
Oh, yeah.
I think in Technicolor.
Mm-hmm.
The studio work, as silly as it might be, this is not thrilling bloody sword kind of sets. These are actually really meticulously done sets. Particularly some of them are with lots of water, and the effects are the kind of lowbrow, effects of a fairy tale shot in the late 50s that you would expect, but effective nonetheless. There's a lot of other weirdness around it, but I will say that it looked really good. I thought it looked very good, and it was very hilarious to watch.
Yes. So this is another one for people that remember Ryan's previous episode where we talked about Carnival Magic.
Yes.
And Ryan was on before for The Face of Fear for the regular format. But starting with The Great Land of Small on the New World Pictures podcast that I was on, it made my brain go, oh, this is the guy that'll watch this type of film with me. And so then we did Carnival Magic. I was just looking up Kindred Trauma and I was deep down a rabbit hole, and I saw that fish from this movie. And I was like, what is that? And so I tracked down this DVD.
The most Slimo-esque part of this movie, for sure.
That fish is Slimo.
That fish.
Yeah, so I pressed play and I was watching it with subtitles and I was like, this is kind of interesting, I guess. And then I saw that they had the English track and I was like, well, let's see what that is. And then the layer of the guy sort of narrating and kind of saying what they're saying, like you said, I was just like, this is really perfectly weird now. So we'll just go right at the beginning. It jumps right into a man riding a horse through a colorful scene, and then he takes rest on a giant rock. He has 0 bags. He's bringing nothing with him.
Yeah, I guess it's a long journey. He's also sleeping during the day.
Yes.
So it feels like he could continue to go somewhere, but he's like, nope, it's rest time.
And then we just watch a horse eat for 5 minutes.
Yep, well, the credits roll. Yeah.
The voiceover tells us that the prince has been riding many miles for many days, but he has nothing with him, which is just amazing. And he's just sleeping on rocks and eating air like princes do, I guess. He encounters a man with a penis shrine, at least that's what I thought it looked like, and many boys in tights. And I was just like, I'm uncomfortable with this scene.
Mm-hmm.
Then they're like, sure, marry our princess, and there's tons of trumpets. And I love the weird sets and miniatures and colors of this
Yeah,
1957 nightmare.
the colors of this are really outstanding. That's what I'm saying. It's really kind of a trip. And this is something you could watch with the sound off. That's how
Sure.
interesting it
Yeah.
is to watch.
Yeah.
But you should watch it with the English
Yes.
narration on, for sure.
The prince offers her a box of pearls, but the spoiled princess dumps them all on the ground, and she
A
demands...
box of pearls.
Not even on a string. She demands the singing ringing tree, and everyone knows what that is, but doesn't know where it is. And it's a magic tree that dispenses all evil, is what they refer to it as. Oh my gosh.
But it's owned by a very malicious individual.
They don't know that, though.
And they find it instantly.
Yes.
He's like, we don't know where this is. Good luck finding it. Oop, I found it. Finding it is not the story.
Oh, so he takes off with a brilliant plan of asking round. He asks a gardener. He goes, go see the farmer by
Smart.
the beach. And then that dude doesn't know. And so we get more nature shots. And then the farmer's like, go ask the herb woman. And then the herb woman's my favorite because the narrator says the herb woman was no help either and called him a fool.
And also a bit cruel on the
Yeah.
back end.
She insults him for no reason. So naturally he's all sad and out of ideas after asking 3 people. Then we see the tiny man who it looks exactly like a tiny Rammstein, like the singer from Rammstein.
Yeah,
but he's a
sure.
small person who has a bridge. And this bridge valley set is so cool. I love
Yeah.
this thing.
Yeah.
He disguises himself as a bush. By this point, I was like, there's no way I'm not asking Ryan to watch this movie because...
That's the point.
Yeah.
That's the point.
You
made it farther into this one than you did Carnival.
Yeah.
Carnival Magic, you were sort of instantly like, okay, I have to get Ryan on board.
Yeah. So the prince uses his sword to hack through some spiderwebs and finds the magic grotto. And little Rammstein snaps his sword and says he's the ruler here. So he picks up a stick, magically it becomes the tree, and says that it'll sing if she truly loves the prince. Otherwise, he's like going to turn into a bear at sunset. It's your typical deal, really.
Sure. This girl that saw him enter after days of travel in his tights, presenting her a box of pearls, gave him immediate side eye,
Yes.
dumped all the pearls on the floor, and he's like, well, this'll go well. I'll bring this tree back to her. She'll definitely love me then.
Oh, yeah. It says the king was relieved the prince was still alive and happy he brought the tree, which I
Yeah.
thought was really good. The princess is pissed, so the prince leaves, and the king says the prince traveled halfway around the world for her, which I was like, did he though? I mean, he kind of just
Yeah.
went to the beach.
Yeah, he spoke to like 3 people and then he found it. It didn't seem to take long.
No. So she pretends to cry by flicking water on her face, and then the king sets
Yeah.
off to find the prince. It's a
Classic.
real turn.
She does it like right in front of her dad and he doesn't catch it.
No, she's got him wrapped around her finger.
Yeah, yeah.
So the prince returns to the grotto, and as the sun comes down, he becomes a terrifying bear man.
Oh my gosh. When he becomes the bear, I was like, wait, hold on. Because again, the story is not about him finding the tree. He finds the tree right away.
Right away.
What is the big part of the story is the fact that he becomes a bear.
That's right. They don't even lead with that anywhere in the story.
No.
His clothes just disappear as he's covered in fur, and the bear makeup, I'm guessing, was fatal. It is so aggressive.
Yeah, he looks like Lon Chaney as the Wolfman,
Yes.
basically.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, it's so good. So little Rammstein is like, hell yeah, a new bear. And then he turns his horse into a statue. I don't even know why he does that part.
Yeah. Why little Rammstein does half the stuff he does? I don't get. It doesn't make any sense.
No. So the king sees the tree and he's like, oh yeah. And then the bear's like, what's up? And the king's like, cool, talking bear. Like it goes really, really, really smoothly. Oh, and then they announce that the deal now is that the prince gets the first person the king meets. So if the king returns with the tree,
Right, right.
these are the new bear rules. So you return with the tree, and the first person that he was greeted by, that's who the bear gets.
I guess, yeah. That was so confusing. As we're about to hear, it all works out in the bear's favor, but how he anticipated it would?
Yeah.
When he went to the castle, there was lots of people.
Yeah. Guards.
So chances are high that the first person the king will see is not, in fact, the princess,
And I'm
but
sure the
other
king's
people.
thinking the same thing. He's like, I have a whole kingdom. I mean, the chances of it being my daughter, slim to none, really.
Yeah, exactly.
And then we see the princess is swarmed by doves for some reason. And unfortunately, the princess greets the king. So by bear rules, she now belongs to the bear.
I mean, just what are the odds? The odds on that are so amazing.
Oh man, the logic of what's happening in this story. So the guard stands watch while the prince, as a bear, ambushes him
It's
from behind a rock.
it's not even like fairy tale logic. It's
No!
just random logic.
Yes, yes. It's like two kids making up a story where they fold the paper down and you can't see the top sentence, and you're just like,
Yeah.
I can continue this story.
Yeah, like they just mad libbed this whole thing.
Yeah, and this scene reminds me of some kid that just saw Rambo, and he was like, so then the bear's hiding behind the rock, and he grabs the guard, pulls him over the rock, and then throws his spear into a tree, and then hangs the guy on the spear. Like, it's just like, wait, what? And then heads to the castle where everything is sleeping. Literally everything is asleep at the castle as the bear approaches. So the princess goes to the garden and then kills all the fish and plants the singing ringing tree in the middle of the fountain.
Yep. Yeah, she does.
And yells at the tree and the bear, who nabs her, pushes through a wall, topples a tree blocking their path, and drags her away halfway around the world to this grotto.
What is happening? Now he's kidnapping.
Is it?
I think once the prince becomes the bear, and I'm starting to feel bad for her, and she has not been nice at all.
Right.
But to be fair to her, and she's not been at all kind in any way, but she has been giving hints galore that she's not into you, dude. And you will not give up, and you now are kidnapping her. Like, what you're into is some incel bullshit. You know? Like, this isn't right, dude. Like, you're a maniac.
Yeah, he's acting like he's owed something just because he rode in on a horse.
He's like, no. I rode for days. You will be mine. I'm like, bro, you're now a bear. Like, the odds are just not in your favor at all. And he's like, I will not give up. I will not relent.
Oh, yeah. And then Minnie Romstein is like, hell yeah, my new bear man brought a new princess to my grotto. This is awesome. She takes a nap, and then we see the hellfish, a monstrous creature which swims with its face above water.
It is a marvel to look at. Like, you can't take your eyes off of it. It's incredible.
Yeah, it is amazing. I posted a picture on Twitter once of her kneeling next to it, and people were just like, what in God's name is that?
And oh boy, it plays even a more key role later on.
Oh yeah. We then see Minnie Romstein's face in the clouds, and he's laughing at them. And then the bear's eating berries and feeding doves, but the princess won't eat because she doesn't have her golden plate. The tiny man then laughs from inside a giant shell, and we see a white horse with golden antlers, but she won't sleep because she doesn't have a royal bed. And then the guy laughs from under the earth, and she sneaks berries and yells at the birds some more, so the evil man makes her hair green and her nose upturned and her skin weird.
Yep.
Because he does that, right? That's what he did.
Yeah, I think so.
It's so weird because that means like he's on the side of the animals. Because he just is mean
I don't know
to people.
whose side he's on. I don't know what he's trying. What is he getting out of any of this?
Just amusement, I guess.
I don't know. Like, why did he turn the horse into like a statue? And that doesn't seem to get resolved. And what is he getting out of any of this? Why did he make the guy a bear?
Right. And then why does the bear guy want to live there?
For him?
He just likes bears, you know?
Yeah, but then he's not like he's going to get the bear and he's going to live with him.
No.
He becomes a bear and goes off on his own.
Yeah.
So he just like made him a bear like, yeah, I really got that dude. I gave him a tree. It didn't work out. I made him into a bear. I feel really good.
Yeah.
Mission accomplished. Like, wait, what?
This is
why?
It's like I'm the best at this in this grotto. The next morning the bear's just bashing rocks against a wall because he's gonna build a cave. And I was like, this is gonna take decades for him to make any headway here. Boy, was I wrong. Bear says you're gonna move thousands of stones before the cave is ready, and it's ready. So that's how that worked.
It's happened so fast. It really did. They say they built Rome in a day, you know? So
yes. She goes off to find something to eat, which is only berries. So the narrator's saying she goes off to find something to eat. I'm like, we already know the only option, because they're not going to eat the giant hellfish creature. And the tiny guy blows a flower and makes a storm. A bird breaks its wing, so Bear says he can heal it by tightly wrapping a bandage around it. And then he's like, that's going to be great. No problem soon. And her mutant nose turns back into normal. And you're like, Okay, so now the story is her learning kindness while being captive?
To me, the biggest lesson of this story seems to be kind to animals. That seems to be the most obvious lesson. Everything else from there, I don't know what this is trying to teach me. I'm assuming it's trying to teach me something because it's like a fairy tale or warn me of something. I don't
Mm-hmm.
know what's warning me of.
That grotto, mostly.
I'm not a prince, and I probably wouldn't look at that stick of a tree with like 4 or 5 leaves on it and think it's magic. I just don't know what I'm supposed to learn other than kindness to animals will help you in the long run. That
Mm-hmm.
seems to be the only lesson of this whole thing.
That's possible. It's possible because next, Tiny Rammstein watches from a waterfall, sees the giant fish come back, so he freezes the lake with the fish in it and her hands in the lake.
Yeah.
She frees them, runs across the ice to release.
And who does that? You have your hand in water and then you're seeing everything, but you don't pull your hands out of the water.
Yeah.
You're not looking at your hands, you're looking away
Mm-hmm.
and going, whoa, what's happening? But you're still keeping your hands in the water? That
Mm-hmm.
seems odd.
That's how
But
I wash my hands. Is I just put them in water, look away, and just shout, "I can't see what's happening" until
and
I
then just
think I'm done.
assume that they're clean by the
Yeah.
time you look
Yeah.
back at them.
Yeah. There's just
Yeah.
water everywhere, soap, just deodorant all over my arms for some reason. Yeah, it's every morning it's just sheer hell for me. So she apologizes and frees the fish, and her lip color comes back to normal, quite vibrant actually.
Yeah.
The next day she's stacking some moss, and Tiny Rammstein makes it snow, and the antler horse is trapped. So now he's just torturing the animals,
What does he want out of all this? I
right?
don't get it.
Yeah, he's just like, this sucks. And then he just blows, and then snow just rolls in. It's crazy. And then Bear digs out the horse, so she apologizes to the horse, and then her hair becomes blonde again. I was just like, the logic of this film is very perplexing.
Yeah, yeah. Again, that's where I just thought, like, because she also gets the horse out of the snow and
Mm-hmm.
she gets the fish out of the frozen lake and tells them, don't worry, I'm never going to be, mean to animals again. I'm assuming, like, that's why she returns out of her ugly form,
Mm-hmm.
whereas before her ugly form apparently was like becoming She-Hulk, but then she gets to not be in it because she's learned kindness. But again, I don't know how this relates to her relationship with the bear, which is where things are going to go full circle
Right.
and come back to. But we've ignored the bear for a while
Oh,
now.
yeah.
So I'm like, what's the relationship between her and the bear? Nothing. It's
Yeah.
just her learning kindness to animals, which I guess includes him
There is a
because
part
he's a bear now.
during this where there's just no bear, and I was like, what's the bear doing? Because we've been following her for a minute.
For a while, yeah. We suddenly lose him, and he's been our main character from the jump.
Mm-hmm.
We've watched him nap, for God's sakes. We've really gotten to know this dude.
Yes. And then Tiny Rammstein ruins their cave and then tells her that the bear is evil and follow him out of there. So he's like, go back home. And she's like, no. And he's like, you better go. And she's like, okay, yeah, let's probably go. So she goes home and is told the whole town is in mourning because she was gone.
Right.
Okay. And then she
The
knew it.
guard doesn't recognize her because I guess she's not wearing shoes.
Yeah.
He's like, I've never seen you before. Like, who are you? And why are you? Have you never seen the princess before? He looks the same, only she has no shoes on. That's the only difference.
It's like when you have a dog and someone puts a hat on and the dog's like, who are you? Where did you come from? And you're like, he's just wearing a hat. So except it's shoes with this guy. Oh my gosh. So she knew right then that Tiny Rammstein was lying and that the tree in the garden started ringing, and she straight up guesses that the bear was the prince. She just deduces it so quickly from the most random things that have happened to
from
anybody.
no context. She's like, oh, and he's not evil. He must not be evil, and he must be the prince, and I should marry him now. Like,
goes.
what? What?
That's exactly how the voiceover says it. And if you are just getting the subtitles, it's not as fun. It's way more fun to have this person narrate it to you because you're just like, that is madness that she took all of those crazy things and said that in one sentence.
Also, he doesn't do voices. He just does emotional inflection.
Mm-hmm.
So he's like, I'm upset. So now this is my voice for angry.
Yeah.
And this is my I'm not upset, which is also great.
Yes. It's just that perfect level of oddness. The next image we get is the bear crying, and it's so disturbing. I don't know what liquid they put on his face to be tears.
Did he put his hands in the lake and just kind of flick it on his face? Then we just didn't see it?
He's like, does Tiny Rammstein see these tears? Anybody? Oh. So then the bridge collapses, and then Tiny Rammstein throws a bunch of sticks, which become a wall of thorns, which was a pretty cool effect. I gotta
Mm-hmm.
say, some of the effects from this point on get pretty cool.
Yeah, they do actually.
For the most part, this being in the 50s and this Technicolor situation, it all looks so. I mean, it's dreamy. It's something that I think if you made a show called David Lynch's Muppet Babies, this would be like their favorite childhood movie, basically, is what I'm thinking.
I would guarantee David Lynch has seen this.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
like all the other, I think, what, Tales from Europe or whatever that this is a series of, I guarantee he's seen them.
Yeah. So Tiny Guy floods her path because she. Oh, so this is the thing I forgot to mention before. The horse with the gold antlers has giant black painted on eyebrows.
Mm-hmm.
It's such
Yeah.
a weird choice to give it Groucho Marx eyebrows. Oh man, so she gets on the horse and it jumps over the thorns in a strange effect. I don't even know what's happening in that part.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because there's miniature work. I don't know. It's really weird.
I feel like they took the plate and then they just kind of had her jump over and
Yeah.
like
Spun it
it's
somehow.
yeah.
It's very ethereal feeling. So the tiny
It looks great.
Yeah, yeah.
You know,
Tiny Guy floods her path, so Hellfish arrives and she rides it back to the magic grotto.
it rides a giant fish.
We get a shot of a doll on a smaller version of the fish, which is really great. And then she's just riding on the giant fish. This is the image I put on Twitter, and it's just like, it's, man, it makes you wish that your dreams could dream as large as the ringing singing tree special effects.
Also, does the tree ever really sing and ring?
No, there's like a jingle. Should be the jingle tree.
It shakes a bit.
Yeah,
Like the tree shakes a little bit and it
Yeah.
seems to make some kind of noise, but it doesn't really ever sing. But apparently, we're told it is.
Yeah, that's what the
And
guy
we're
says.
looking at it going, it's not.
Yeah.
But they're telling us, and it was singing and ringing. Is it?
He's like, if my booming voice wasn't right here, right now, you would hear ringing and singing.
He might as well just say, trust me, it's happening.
This is all factually true.
It may not look it by looking at the pictures. Trust me, it's happening.
So Tiny Rammstein drains the water, leaving her in a deep ravine. And here comes the birds with a swing, and they lift her up. And you're like, oh, I get it. All the animals that she was kind to, they quickly forgave
Yep.
her. And now they're going to help her because they know the plot of what's going on.
I guess. Fill us in.
Yeah.
It seemed to be almost like that kind of Snow White thing where like she's suddenly kind and they're all coming to her aid.
Mm.
But was she nice to birds at some point?
The one the bear healed. with
Right.
his
So
magic scarf.
she's getting credit for what the bear did.
I think so. Yeah.
It was who at this point is just persona non grata in this movie. He's gone.
He's just weeping.
He's busy crying
Yep.
and not being a part of the story.
He's got no home. He's just sad. Then comes this moment that how this isn't memed anywhere, I don't know. But Tiny Rammstein's flying around. The singing ring
Yep.
tree is in a ring of fire.
Yep.
She's there,
And he's floating above it,
floating above it.
and the singing ringing tree's in the middle.
It's such a cool, weird image. And then the tree sings, supposedly, and we see through the fire that the tiny guy just plummets through the earth.
Yeah, because she walks through the fire
Yeah.
and just grabs the tree like, yay, me and tree.
Yeah.
Mission accomplished, I guess. I don't know how that happened. And then he, I guess, was actually only supported by fire. And so then he falls to the ground and then is swallowed up by the earth. I was like, I don't know, I guess.
Yeah.
But that's how we ended that.
People, why we're saying that he's like a tiny Rammstein, because he looks just like the singer's face all painted up, and he wears like this onesie outfit that looks kind of like Flames, where at first I was like, oh, maybe he's a spider, because that's where there's all the spider web stuff, and then it's like, no, not at all, and then he can just do all these crazy magical things, and I was like, okay. So when they're like, fire is his thing, and it is not, I was like, okay, and then he just shoots into the earth. I was like, well, that's one way to end it. And then the bear's just like, what's up? Oh shit, I'm a prince. And the voiceover's like, they marry, the end. And you're like,
Yeah.
okay.
And he becomes a prince again.
Yeah.
And then they're like, okay, now that you've kidnapped me and then left me alone to learn how to be a good person,
Yeah.
I think I really care about you. Remember, she calls him at one point, this is the trigger, where she calls him Dear Bear.
Yeah.
And he's like, what?
Oh.
Dear Bear,
Hey.
you must like me now. And I'm like, that's not a lot to go on. It's not the seed of a relationship just because she called you something kind.
I also like in the beginning, they're like, he traveled so far with his horse, and then eventually they're like, the bear just drags her there. Like, so wait, he drug her miles?
I guess. I mean, again, it seemed to me from the very beginning he was just real lazy, and it was
Yes.
just trying to get a little sun, maybe get a little vitamin D into his cheeks. I mean, it's daytime. Again, you have
Right.
plenty of daylight to make your destination. You're like, I think the best thing for me to do on this long trip is to nap.
Yeah. Yes. Oh my gosh. Well, that is the complete walkthrough that people deserve for the singing, ringing, singing tree.
So you just found this by going through a deep hole of kinder trauma,
Yeah.
and then you just bought it sight unseen?
Yeah. Correct. And then I was just thinking like, oh man, I hope this is interesting at least. And then I put it on with the voice and everything, like I said, and I was like, oh yeah, all the parts of this are weird. This is weird. This is really
It is
weird.
bizarre. It is so bizarre that it's almost difficult to really talk about because it's just so befuddling.
Yes.
There's literally nothing to put you back on solid ground and have you kind of get your bearings. It is a little over an hour of just this story spinning wildly out of control with no sense of reality. And it's a fairy tale, so you can kind of understand why that's the case, but it's just so bizarre.
Yeah. And tonally, I mean, much like we talked about with Carnival of Magic, this is for children. But like,
right,
it's kind of a bummer for a lot of it. It's not fun.
And again, I'm trying to think, like, what is the thing a kid's supposed to learn?
Yeah.
Be nice to animals, I suppose, but because there's no reason why the princess ever goes off with the bear, like in a kind way. We know she's basically kidnapped, and we're supposed to be like, oh, okay, kidnapping a woman, good. Little people, apparently, totally bad. There's
yeah, that's true. That's
like,
one problem
this is
with
not
the film.
telling us very good lessons. I'm just trying to look. I mean, there's just nothing there in the story that tells you anything. There's a narrator there, for God's sakes.
Yeah.
It's a fairy tale. He can make up some gobbledygook and tell us some sort of moral at the end, but they don't. They're just like, this is it. You don't need anything. This is the story. And I can't believe that this was cut into 3 parts.
Yeah.
How frustrating must it have been to watch part 1 and then be like, see you next week? Like, what?
Or just 2, just the middle part, where you're like,
Yeah.
where'd the bear
You
come
only
from?
caught part 2? And you're like, wait, this guy's a bear? What was it? Was he this guy's the prince? It would be so confusing to get this in the middle.
Yeah.
But so frustrating to have watched this in 3 separate sections, which I have to think were released on 3 separate weeks.
Yeah.
I can't imagine kids running around going, I can't wait to see what happens next to the bear.
Can't wait to tune into the ringing singing tree, which has very little to do with the movie. Actually, it's more so
Part
about
2 is going to be the
second chances.
It's just the catalyst for the story, basically, just because he gets and because she doesn't fall in love with him, which of course she wasn't going to, because I mean, what made you think she was into you to begin with, dude? It's like a story about a prince who can't pick up context clues and ultimately, kidnaps a woman, and through Stockholm syndrome, she ends up falling for him, but she does learn not to treat animals nicely. The end.
Yeah, really, she's just a dick to everybody, and then eventually, is one by one, is like, "I'm sorry for being a dick," and they're like, "All right," and then she has to marry some guy that smells like bear. It's like, okay,
I can see animals being like, that makes sense.
This is good animal logic.
Here, one of my notes as I first watched it was like, it's a shitty bullshit tree. That's one of my first thought. I was like, that's the tree? Really? The tree of the title?
Yeah, there's a part where they go to eat berries the first time you see the berry tree, and I'm like, that should have been the ringing singing tree.
I thought that there might be, because the tree sucks so much, like in the very beginning, and they're literally carrying it around like it is a stick.
Yes.
They're literally carrying it like it's worthless. Everybody holds it in offhand. They're not looking as they talk, and it's just like in their hand. And I thought maybe there might be, and maybe there is to a degree, but certainly not with a tree, some sort of lesson about don't think that only great things come from stuff that is grand. Just because this thing doesn't look particularly good. In fact, it looks like a shitty bullshit tree. That doesn't mean that it doesn't have value and there isn't magic within it. And I'm like, but that's me trying to fill in
Yeah.
That's me spackling over the bruised and broken wall that is this story,
Mm-hmm.
because it doesn't get anywhere near that kind of point.
No.
Again, the only point I think it would be is that you just shouldn't be shitty to animals. But other than that, I don't know. There's nothing to it. Why did Little Ramstein want to do anything he did? I don't know. Why was the prince so obsessed with this one princess? Is she the last one?
Yeah, could be. I was curious as to if this tree keeps evil at bay, how is it the most evil person has the tree
Right.
and gives it
Exactly.
to her? I was just, or
How does
him. I
he
was like,
have
what?
it?
What? That
And
doesn't
I
make
felt
any
like he
sense.
wanted to mess with the bear simply because he wanted to have the tree back. But then how does he own the tree anyway? Is this how Smeagol had the ring? Like it fell in a cave and he just happened to retrieve it. And, now he wants to screw
Okay.
over anybody that wants it. I don't know. Again, I'm filling in gaps.
Yes.
There's nothing in the story that would make that true.
Also, I get the bear. That's a thing. But the fish, like, there's real fish in the movie. They're murdered. But, like, then there's this giant mutant hellfish. And I'm like,
Yeah.
what? No one's addressing this? She should have been like, what the hell is that? And instead she's like, hey, buddy.
I feel like they made, because the facade they put on the horse, which is to make it sort of unicorn-esque, but
Right.
not really.
No, too many horns.
And also with big giant eyebrows. So whatever that makes sense. I feel like that was the animal they were like, now the fish will make sense. But it doesn't.
No.
It's like, okay, that's odd, but that's not weird,
Mm-hmm.
because it's also still an actual horse. But the fish is clearly a giant puppet. So it does not make sense with everything else we've seen. It stands out like wildly above everything else.
And when there's ice, it looks like they actually somehow froze or did something to that water, because when she's cutting out the fish, there's still people underneath operating that fish.
Right.
It
right.
submerges. I was like, wait, what is happening here? How did they... It's weird. It's 1957 and it's got some effects in there where I'm like, I'm impressed.
Are we falling in love with this film right now?
I think that's happening. I think we've been carnival magicked by the singing ringing tree.
I admit that I love Carnival Magic, and I watch this one and I'm like, it needs a little Carnival Magic.
It does, yeah.
It definitely needs a little Carnival Magic, but it visually is very interesting. It is super weird. I am kind of curious to watch it with my kids, because I just feel like they would be bored. But if not, I'm curious what they might get out of it, if anything.
I think if you can make it to the bear part,
that would be a win.
That point on, it's like, where is this gonna go? Because that is such a wild turn that I mean, just the logic of them, like the narrator saying, and so the prince said, if by midnight she doesn't love me, I'll turn into a bear. I'm like, he brought it on himself? What is this?
Yeah, it was almost felt like a self-fulfilling prophecy. It was like, she's gonna love me or else I'll become a bear.
Right.
By God. Like, it's like, wait, don't. And again, she never showed the slightest bit of interest in you. To think that you're gonna go back and win her over with this stick of a tree. This shitty bullshit tree. You're not gonna win her over with that.
That's our reboot of the ringing singing trees. Shitty bullshit tree. And each person just remarking on, like, that's the tree.
I do want to add that if people want to watch this and you want to see the narration version, you should look it up under 1964.
There it is.
So when you're looking in YouTube, because 1964 is when it comes out on the BBC, from Tales from Europe series. 1957 is when it comes out in Germany, and most of East Germany watches it. And it's a giant success. Who knew?
Wow. That is...
Is it like a thing where we just don't know these kinds of stories, or these creatures in the stories are often part of German folklore, and it's just a matter of not knowing German folklore?
I mean, it's possible that they're just like, well, every story has bear, man, and monster fish. These are our stories.
I mean, is the monster fish like something that's in lots of stories? And if you were like explaining this to a German person, they would be like, yeah, and it becomes a bear. I know. What's weird? They're like, I don't.
What's your problem? The fish never puts its face in the water except for when the water's frozen. It just breathes air. It's an air-breathing fish. That's...
But it
what
can
do your
also
fish
submerge, because it does go in the water when
go.
she's riding it.
Yes.
Which is also visually cool. This is a film, too, for anyone that has a job at a restaurant or something where you can put something on a screen and
yeah.
like, this would be if I was back in my college days and we were having a party and having people over.
Mhm.
This is the movie I'm putting in so that people start walking by the TV and then can't help but look
Yes.
over and go, what is this?
Yeah, this is the movie to put on if your friend's lying because they ate all the LSD in your dorm room. And you're like,
Right.
okay, well, I'll just put this on. And then they start shrieking and leap out the window. You'd be like, that's what I thought. He couldn't take it.
I can't handle the bear.
When he's crying, lives in my brain forever.
I did also love the scene with the fire and love when she just
Yes.
kind of walks in it. It's so weird. It
Yep.
works on its own weird logic that seems to make sense, but I can't tell you how. I can't tell you why. I don't get what's happening, but I'm like, this is so interesting.
It's also the narrator. He doesn't say, like, when little Rammstein picks up sticks and makes the thorn wall. Like, he doesn't say all of the things that he does. It's just
No.
stuff that happens on, like, and so he froze the waterfall, which is a super cool, weird effect. And that froze the water and it stopped the fish. It's like, his selective way of telling you what someone's saying or what you're actually seeing is not hand-holding at all. It's just, like, pretty random what he's cluing you in on.
That's the thing. The narration in this is almost still party to the weirdness of the original. Because you have a narrator.
Yeah.
You could clean up a lot of this.
So much.
You could add context. You could make up your own moralistic stuff to it if you wanted to. You have the means. You have a narrator. But he actually dips in and out of the story quite a bit.
So true.
And there's often times where you're like, when's that narrator going to come back? Because I'd love to know what this is.
Yes.
But and he doesn't. He's just as big a party of this madness as the original creators.
Yeah. So he came on for the 67 version.
64. I
64.
believe. Yeah.
Okay, that makes so much sense. Yeah, because when you just see it on its own, you're just like, this was the original deal? Like, this is what was... Yeah, because, like, the fire part... You know what we should have done is we should have just recorded this whole episode, because this will be about the same length as the film. We should have just done our own narration.
We should have.
People could just select it on YouTube as like, oh, it's Dirk and Ryan's.
I was correct. It was shown on BBC One on like 2 weeks in November, at the end of November, and then the first week in December. Part of their Tales from Europe. I would like to at least hope that they also took other ones of these movies and kind of mixed them in. And then you would just get all of those stories as you watched over the 3 parts. But, oh my gosh. How weirded out were you on November 19th, 1964, that you were like, well, I have to watch this the next 2 weeks just to know how the hell this ends.
Can't be on a cliffhanger like this. Does he stay a bear? Is there a giant ring of fire? Oh, there is. Wow, I just don't know how I guessed that part.
I can't imagine watching this episodically. That would just drive me insane. That may be why there were more insane. Is there more insanity in 1964 in Britain? I don't know.
Probably so.
This could easily make a case that there was, simply by putting this on television.
Yes. Yeah. Well, hopefully now that we've discussed it, it'll get a Blu-ray soon. And look forward to Severin or Vinegar Syndrome releasing.
This feels like a Severin, and I don't know if it's just because they also put out Carnival Magic, but this, like the Tales from Europe series, of which I have seen only this one.
Yes, Sam.
But now I feel like I want to seek out the others.
That's the problem. It's all because of that fish.
Is this the weirdest or just one of many weird tales? I don't know. But I feel like this would be like they would collect them all and put them out on one disc. I feel like that would be a move they would make.
Yeah, do you remember Fairy Tale Theater?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, that's something that generationally people, I think, have forgotten about.
Right.
I think if discussed, people would lose their mind to see, like, Christopher Walken's Puss in Boots episode. Because we had those in our video store. Like, you could rent them, but they also played on
I remember that.
some channel. But, yeah.
I think they were originally, like, on HBO or something.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah, so I only saw a couple because we didn't have cable or HBO for a long time. I could only watch that at like my grandparents.
Yeah, did you see the Three Little Pigs? That's a classic.
I don't know if I saw that one. Pretty sure I saw the Shelley Duvall one. I only got to see a handful because I just didn't get to see it. And then once it became like in video stores, I was in high school and I was like, well,
you're not the guy that's gonna rent them.
I'm not gonna burn a rental on that one. I'm gonna I'm gonna keep it cool and rent, I don't know, whatever I was gonna rent at the time.
Go up
I'm
to
gonna rent singles. That's what I'm gonna rent. I'm gonna be cool.
Go up to Mark and
Uh,
be like, "We could get Friday the 13th Part 8, but what about this fairy tale theater I've been hearing so much about?"
but you want to watch that, don't you?
It's 30
Yeah.
minutes instead of a full movie, so yeah, good
But
rental.
those fairy tale theater, those were generally still well constructed stories.
Oh
Like,
yeah,
this
yeah.
is just, fever
Madness.
dream madness. This doesn't make any sense. Again, unless contextually this makes any sort of sense if you're German. I hope that there's something just massively lost in translation. But
I mean, I'm not familiar with the Hurl Burl Butts by the Brothers Grimm, but
me neither.
I might have to check it out if this is what the thing is about. They don't even name the guy. Like the man who's causing all the ruckus. I don't think he's ever named.
The main guy?
The little Rammstein.
Oh yeah, no. He is just called the dwarf.
Yeah.
Which is not an appropriate term
no.
these days, and probably wasn't even then. But yeah, nobody has a name. He's just
so
he's
weird.
just the prince, a handsome prince or a bear. It's a princess or a haughty princess. Like nobody has a name.
Weird.
Yeah, this was a trip. I feel like you're gonna call me up a year from now and be like, "Are you ready for Tales from Europe Part 2?"
I like that you give me a year.
Yeah, like it's not gonna be 3 months from now.
Like I haven't already got a bunch brought up on eBay. Where I'm like, Sarah, remember how we were gonna fix this shelf? Well, I spent all the money on Taste of Europe. No, it's not edible. It's actually movies that no one wants to watch.
Yeah, nobody. I mean, the great test of this episode will be how many people actually saw this.
So I met a couple, and they have been watching every movie that I've covered on the podcast.
Oh, great.
And they told me they were thinking about stopping. Because of some of the movies. They're like, some of these are not good. And I was like, oh yeah, I never really thought that someone would do that. Because a lot of people say like, oh, I just listen for people's stories and lives, or I
Sure.
Sometimes they like the movies and stuff. But it was just funny to have someone be like, so this is what we've been doing. And I was like, oh, thank you. And then they're like, we're gonna stop probably.
I was hoping you were gonna follow up with like, and they saw Carnival Magic, and they were like, this is great.
No,
but in fact,
they're back a bit. Yeah.
yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. So they didn't even make it to Carnival Magic.
I think they were on season 4. It's they said some of these are really hard to find, and I was like, gosh, I didn't even really think about that, but yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
we
this
have to
is
do
on
that
YouTube,
in our podcast.
so.
We always try to say where you can find it. That
Yeah.
said, that only has so much of a window.
Right.
Which is why we always kind of recommend, if you can find it on an actual disc, to get it that way, because where it might be streaming, who knows?
Yeah.
You know.
Did you guys cover CoverGirl?
Oh yeah.
Okay. I thought so because I picked it up on a sale.
Yeah.
the
Yeah,
other
we did CoverGirl,
Okay.
and then we spoke to Charles Dennis last
Yes.
month, who wrote it and is in it
Yeah.
as well. And he is one of my favorite interview moments, because I was wearing our T-shirt.
Mhm.
We have a T-shirt that you can find in our store, which is from CoverGirl. And I was wearing it during the interview, and he says, "Wait, kid, stand up." He's like, "Are you wearing? Is that from CoverGirl?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he was like, "How many times have you seen this movie?" And we were like, "Many times." And he was like, "Why?"
Yeah.
The writer of
love
the
it.
film was like, "Why have you seen this movie of mine? Why on earth?"
That's how anyone would feel from the Singing Ringing Tree. They'd be like, you guys watch this now?
Like they were talking to Francesco Stefani, who directed it, and he was like, "Oh, wow, you saw that?" "Oh, sorry, dude. Yeah, I don't know what I was doing that day. I was just tripping balls really most of the."
How many
for that.
Taste of Europes is there? Do you know?
Tales from Europe?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I keep calling
That
it
is a good
Tastes of
question.
Europe.
Taste of Europe sounds like something I could actually watch.
Yeah.
I would watch that.
Oh,
I know that
Toblerone.
I just tried to look it up before the show,
I did a long time ago.
and I just tried to look up on eBay, just try to look up the Singing Ringing Tree, because you'd said how hard it was to find on DVD,
Yeah.
and I was like, I'm just curious what it might be to purchase and how hard it might be. They did have some where it was like with another Tales from Europe, so I don't know how many there might be.
You gotta take all of these off my hands if you're gonna take one.
Right. I mean, like, they're not like 2 discs. They're both on the same.
Oh,
Like
okay.
they paired them together, like this one and another one.
Got it. Yeah, this is just a single film, so.
Yeah, I saw some that was like just the movie, and some of them I'm pretty sure just like people doing like a terrible rip and then they just burned it on a disc.
Mhm.
That's how we got Crystal Heart when we did that episode, because Crystal Heart's not an easy film to find. My brother and I both bought a DVD off eBay, and it was like easily like a photocopied cover,
Yeah.
and like the disc is somebody burned it and made a menu screen, and
Mhm.
the cheapest, but hey, we watched it. You're able to watch it, and
And you
it's
got a
not always
case.
easy to find.
Like sometimes I just get it and it's a paper sleeve, and then I'm like, oh, I'm gonna lose this.
Right. Right. Right.
There
But
was
yeah, I don't know how many there are, but I'm gonna guess 2 to 3. I can't think that there's a massive amount of these.
Yeah, well, the DVD has the 70-minute feature film. It has a short film called Sunday, which I did not watch, and original U.S. theatrical trailer and animated chapter divisions, which is
Wow. I
yeah.
didn't think they would at all be any extras. That actually makes me curious, because I want to see that short film, and I need to see the US trailer, a trailer in the US.
Yeah, and you can see it in German, English, French, or Spanish. Those are your audio options.
I will say this, that again, this is only from Wikipedia, but I'm saying there's a section of the Wikipedia page that has UK reactions. And it says the TV series, partly due to its foreignness as both fairy tale and for the unfamiliarity of its German production, was, quote, indelibly carved on the psyches as one of the most frightening things ever shown on children's television.
Yeah, it's true. I would put it there for sure.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
visually, it's just so strange,
Yeah.
and that's the thing that really caught me. But then upon rewatches, which is when I really clued into the narrator, because the first time I was like, let's see how weird it gets, just kind of fast forwarding some of it, and then it wasn't until like the second, third watch where I was like, no, this is pretty perfect. How strange this thing is in its
Yeah.
entirety with the
But visually pretty interesting.
yeah, yeah. The
Uh,
the flame part, I was just like, this is cool. This is really cool. The thorn wall's super cool. The hellfish is crazy. I don't know.
yeah, the hellfish is
I
a
don't even
number
know how it
one, like the
works.
best.
Was there two people under there?
Insane.
Just like, I don't know. This would be something that the making of would be fascinating. Like,
Yeah.
because
Oh, I know.
all the parts where Lil Rammstein is like where he's under shells and in holes and in the clouds, and it's just like, why? Why can he do that? Why is he?
Yeah.
What
How?
is
Who
the?
is he? How is he omnipotent?
Why
Why
the?
does he only want to hurt this one guy and turn him into a bear? What is he getting out of any of this?
And the bridge is intact for a long time. The bear could leave. Why he chose to live in the grotto, getting pranks pulled on him all the time?
I don't know. And does he die at the end? The little Rammstein guy? I don't.
He
I
shoots
mean,
into the earth. I don't know.
so he's just a part of everything. I don't. I'm so confused.
Yeah, we need a sequel. Still ringing, still singing. Let's write it.
Oh well, Dirk. Thank you for burning this into my brain.
Whew. Okay, well, I'm surprised that our friendship has lasted through it.
This was fun, I will say.
Okay, cool.
I was like, yeah, this is
Short.
again, beautiful to look at, interesting, no logic whatsoever, and
Are you describing me or the movie?
could be. It would definitely be a lot of fun for groups of people to watch together. This would be a blast. This would
Yeah,
be a hoot.
that's true. Sometimes when we do events and encounter people that are severely stoned and I give them a freeze-dried Skittle and it breaks their brain, this movie would be similar to that
Yeah.
for your high
This
friend.
would break
just
you in
being,
half. You'd be
what?
like, I'm not ready for this.
Yeah.
I didn't realize this is what I was getting into.
Oh, well, Ryan, we've done it again. We've covered another great, great film. Why don't you tell people where they can find the New World Pictures podcast, including
Well,
the
you can
website?
find us now on our new website,
Yes.
newworldpicturespodcast.com. And you can find our t-shirts, our t-shirt store. You can also obviously just listen to us wherever you find your podcasts. You can also follow us on Instagram and Twitter and on Facebook. And I believe that's it. We were on Hive until that went down. Maybe it'll come back. You never know. But yeah, that's where you can find us. And you can also find us on Letterboxd as well.
Perfect. And I'm sure you have some exciting things coming up in the new year.
We do. We're going to be starting off the January with what we call Disastuary.
Awesome.
And we're going to be going over some disaster films that New World has done. We also did one called Avalanche this past year, which is also a hoot of a film if you haven't seen it. And so we'll be doing that. Then we'll be going into Febcest for February.
Oh, no.
Tales about obsession.
Oh, shoot.
Of which...
I thought you were covering incest movies.
No, God, no. Febcest is just about obsession and
Okay.
obsession movies, of which there are many that New World put out. We could do that for the whole year probably. But yeah, so we're doing a bunch of theme months. And then I think March is, I'm not sure what the name of it is, but it's going to be a sort of like a high school theme month. And we'll be doing, I think, Reformed Schoolgirls and Return to Horror High. So a bunch of stuff that we'll be talking about. We got a bunch of stuff lined up and already started recording. So, you know, we're getting ready for 2023 and hoping to build on what we've done this past year.
Yeah, and I recommend that people find you on Twitter, New World Picture Pod, and Ryan Gowland.
Yeah, at the New World Pod and New World, I think New World Pictures Podcast on Instagram.
Yeah.
I think so.
Because there's a lot of, you and I like the physical media, and whenever there's sales and things, you put up like great recommendations. You constantly remind me of things that I meant to pick up and didn't. So I recommend people check that out because I just hit a Kino sale that I wasn't planning on hitting, but you let me know about it. And so there's 13 things coming to me that, did I need them? I don't know, but I'm going to get them.
That's the thing about Kino. They put up those sales and you're like, I wasn't going to buy anything either. And then I bought 12.
Yeah. So cheap. It's like $9.
Yeah, they're
okay.
like $6, and you're like, for $6-7. Do I need the Day of the Dolphin? No, but it's $8, and so it's coming.
Yeah,
and I don't know. I can't help it. These things are, like we said, hard to find sometimes. When I think about like what I might have to rent it, I'm like, now I have it, and maybe much like watching this film, which I don't own, but I watched it on YouTube. Now I have nothing but questions. Yeah. And I don't know if your DVD particularly has any answers per se, but I'm like, I often will finish a film and be like, I'm curious. I want to know more. And that's the thing about physical media, is that it often has a commentary or some sort of, you know, featurette or something, or interview with somebody. There's normally something that will give you some kind of context for this stuff. I have been obsessed about stuff from the very beginning. Like when DVDs were introduced and I was like, wait, you could also just listen to the director talk about the movie on a track. That set me off. And I've been collecting physical media for movies and stuff ever since, because I just love all that stuff. It's stuff that Erica is like, boring. Yeah. I'm sleeping. She doesn't care about any of that. She does not care about how the magic was made, but I am obsessed with it. I try to give out those recommendations, and not just New World films, but other films.
Yeah, so all kinds of stuff. You have a wide variety of movies that you're passionate about, like The Ringing Singing Tree. And so...
Exactly.
Well, thank you so much. It's always a pleasure to get to talk with you. Till next time, I'm Dirk Marshall, and this has been VHS Presents New Releases and Late Returns.
You are all my children now. It's my Robbie forced to snap, counteract with a slap, don't hold the beat back, let it roar. Never drop. I like it loud. 14.
I will solve them back once more too.
Pump up the volume.
Tell them again.
Pump up the volume.
One more time.
Pump up the volume.
Tell them again.
Pump up the volume.
Tell them again.
Pump up the volume.
One more time.
Pump up the volume.
Tell them again.
Pump up the volume.
One more. One more. Tell them again.
Pump up the volume.
One more time.
Pump up the volume.
Break down. What?
The volume. Done, but only I can do it.
Bass so loud it'll rip your ears.
Done, but only I can do it.
My dance floor, don't I that you there. The process is simple. Stage, second home studio, my temple.
What the fuck are they doing with our, with our art form? It's like they axe murdered the shit.